Hey everybody, good morning. It's David R Becker here with Becker Art, and I'm here to do my Sunday demo with David. And so I was gonna probably maybe go see something, but there's big storms out there this morning and all last night. Heading on my way heading to Dillman's is right after this, and Dillman's is in Wisconsin, in northern Wisconsin, so it takes me about 5 hours to drive up there. But I was gonna maybe stop somewhere and do some painting, but it's been raining and I guess flash floods everywhere, so hopefully I'll make it up there in time for tonight's dinner. And anyway, so today I thought we'll do this. I haven't done a musician in a while, and I really like doing these musicians. And this one is a black and white photo, and I just want to show you how I'm going to take and maybe make this fun and lively and colorful, and just from a black and white photo. So thanks a lot for waking up this early morning on Sunday to watch me. And here we go. And if you have any questions, please in the chat next to the video in the chat, you just ask away, and I'll be happy to answer any questions I can possibly think of. And let's see if anybody's. Oh, we got a couple of people here. Thanks so much for stopping in this morning. And so let me see where we should go from. Okay, so we're gonna basically, I think I also want to try some of these Holbein granulating colors. This is a granulating set of 24. Now, when you think of granulating set, you're thinking that they're like really granulated, like pigmented, but it's not like that. It's more. There's two different kinds of pigment in there. One's ground a little bit finer, and another one not as much ground, and so they kind of separate when you put them into a wet wash. And so I think I'm gonna try a couple of these today, just because this is gonna be a pretty simple painting. Here's Twilight Purple. Let's put a little bit of that in here. And since there's going to be a lot of dark in this, it doesn't mean I have to use black on this, like the black and white. I can have fun with the colors and maybe use some black, but just use some other dark colors that are fun to use. Here we have Clematis Violet. There's a violet. Hopefully I'll be able to see this, and I'm sorry the last couple of days I've been always using that board, which I'm going to stop using for a while now, and so I don't have to, so I can stop complaining about it. And I actually written them letters, and so we'll see what happens. Here's a Vine Red. This is a Vine Red. I'm going to try to use a lot of it and just use it up. Here's this Flamingo Pink. This is a really bright pink. And you never know how I'm going to use it. We'll just see. Let's just have some fun with it. Alright, and so I'm using 300-pound Stonehenge Aqua, which is my go-to paper. And I do like the panels lately, but I can't always make the panels in time for me to use them. And I can't use a lot of times the aluminum panels because it's just kind of expensive to use them for demonstration. All right, so let me think. My lights, where are my lights? Basically the drum sets and a bunch of the lights, who are the lights that are shining in his face. And I'm not going to put them all through four like that right there. I'm going to scatter them around a little bit. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wet the whole thing. I'm going to wet the whole thing, and I'm going to have some fun with putting some of these paints in there and make it look wild, like he's really drumming away. Like it's a still shot, right? But you can make it look like there's in motion a little bit. Hey Sherry, and who else is here? Look at my. Hey Pat, Karen, and Sherry. Good morning. Sherry from Indiana. Thanks for stopping by. So, like I said, I'm going to take the whole paper. I'm going to wet the whole paper. This is not on a board. This is just Stonehenge Aqua, 300 pound. And I know it's not going to be bad because I use it all the time. Yeah, they shipped me a bunch of papers that, and I thought I'd use this new paper they sent me, but that not the Stonehenge people, the Crescent people, and they sent me just as bad a paper, and so it was kind of weird that they sent me paper that I was complaining about, and it was even worse. Some of it was even worse than the stuff they sent me. Alright, so let's have some fun with these colors, and because I'm doing the lights, and so the drum sets are pretty much light, and so I'm just going to like spatter some of this color in there and see give it. This is the lights, and so this will be the parts of the drum set that are showing. And the floor can be, and it is like a night scene type of thing, or a dark scene, because it is a band playing in a dark stage. And so let's see what we can do with colors. Looks like all I did was put out reds. That's okay. And of course purple, which is fine. And I'm not worrying about the lights yet. I'll show you how I'm going to do them. First, I want to throw some color around here. Some colors that are going to be, did I put this out there? The orange. Let me see if there's any other light colors. Let's get some light colors in here too. I haven't used them as much as I want to use them, and so little by little I'm trying to get some of this stuff into my other palette. But when you're adding extra colors to your palette, a lot of times you don't know what they do or how they blend with other colors, and so it's good to practice with them first before you enter them into your permanent palette, basically. That's why I'm just putting them on the side here for now, just to see. And look at this nice blue in there. Look at that. We're just going to let that float in there. I'm putting the blue a little bit on the side here. There's a green turquoise, there's this blue. And one's called Jade Vine Blue. And the other one is called, what's the other one called? Ocean Blue. Oh, this Ocean Blue is very cool. Spattering it in there, letting them mix themselves together. See, the thing is that you don't have to mix these colors with anything because they're already mixed together with other colors, and they're going to separate a little bit on you when you have it down and you put it into wet water like this. It's just going to separate. The pigment's going to separate. The granules will separate a little bit from the blue to the green. And what should I make his coat? Because he's got a big coat on, like a sports coat. Let's see if I get questions down here. Why does it always go down? When I first saw the photo, I thought you might be doing it on black paper. Yeah, I was thinking about doing it on black paper, but I don't want to make it black. I want to make it dark, but I don't want to make it totally black. And this would be a good one to do on black paper. Then you add the color to that, so that's fine too. But I haven't done that in a while, so I probably should do one on black pretty soon. I've come to like, though, the white paper, even when I'm doing plein air nocturnal scenes, because then I have to use a lot of pigment, and if you're using a really cool pigment that's really like this kind of pigment, or pigment that granulates a little bit, then when you make I put black in there, but it really shows just as fine. It's just as good to use black on white paper, because it kind of covers and gives it kind of like a really cool look too. So either way, there are both good papers, and it's a different way of working, but this right now, again, is my lights. I'm just putting my lights in there, and it's on a wet surface, totally wet surface of paper. Okay, there's the purple. Let's do a little bit of his face. Let's get his face in there. Make it nice and light. His hands. Because I'm putting down the light so that I can negative paint around them. And at first I will not really negative paint around them with a hard edge. I'll be a soft edge because this is all wet. So I'll try to get as close to that what I can with a lot of pigment. And when I'm doing really dark darks, then I have to use a lot of pigment anyway, so it won't bleed in as far as you think. And so let's see, what else should I put here? So the lights will hopefully be the white of the paper is what I'm going to try to do. Like in here, that's lighter colors, so I can figure it out with maybe some of these. Let's go with like an orangey color, yellowy orange. And so let's just go like this and see. And I'm going to have to spray my paper a little bit more because it's starting to dry up there a little bit. So I'm just going to spray with my mister. Just going to spray it here real quick. I'm going to keep this really wet for a while. I'm going to really try to get a lot of action happening in this painting. and the little bit of highlight around, like a rim lighting that's around him, I'll either try to do it. I could have put masking fluid down, but you know me and masking fluid, I don't really put it down very much. So what I'm going to do is just use white paint. I'll use white paint there, and so that's going to be one of the lights. And when you do it dark, and you have to make it thick if you want it to be like more of a line. Though this is kind of supposed to be a little bit like where it goes from a light to a dark gradually, where the lights real close in there can be a little bit less than that, but this is like a medium color. Let's just go into hat. Spray over here because I'm seeing this is drying a little bit too much. And basically, I'm doing my middle tones and my darks, because I'm going to try to get the darks right away. So sometimes you just have to do everything at once, it seems like. So this is all different colors in this part. Though, like I said, I really should give his coat a color. Let's maybe give it a blue. And on this side where the warm lights are coming, this will be cool side, then I'll make a warm side. On the warm side, I'm just going to plop in a bunch of warm colors. And of course, it's all going to be soft edge because everything is totally wet. But see how I'm getting an edge? It's a small, soft edge, and it's not really precise edge, but it's enough where I'm not letting it bleed into the other parts. And the thicker you make your pigment on your brush and then put it down into the water, the more control you have over it in the water, like when it's blending. So you can just take this and it's really thick, and I can just blend it a little bit, and it's in water, so it'll blend itself together too, if you give it time, or push it together a little bit. You know how thick I put that together, and then I'm gonna spatter that part, like anywhere the shine is, where the metal from the drum set. I'm gonna just make it really shiny. I'm kind of using all my colors here, all my granulating colors, because I'm using them thick, and it's kind of neat. You'll see once it dries. You can't see what's happening until it dries because it takes a while for it to separate. And this is almost like pouring type of thing, where I'm just playing with the background and trying to go around my lights. And as long as it's nice and wet, I can play for a long time. And so that's how I sprayed it a little bit. So if you start seeing a place like down here starting to dry a little bit, take my mister, keep it wet, evenly wet, and it's just one stroke of the mister. Don't over mist it and make it really soaking wet, because then everything's just going to fall away and just kind of blend together. So I do want to give it not a big amount of water, but just enough so it keeps it where it's floating. You can also take out areas, like I can pull out some of the pigment. I like this purple I've got here. Let's make it even darker with some black and how about some reds? Alizarin maybe? You can also drop some water in this area and make a watermark. Like if there's more water on an area, that way you make a watermark and it can look like the light is... Oh! We'll worry about that brush later. So I can just pull out the lights if I need to. Let's see, how are we doing here? And since it's transparent, I can see my line underneath, so I'm not getting that dark that I can't see my line. So I'm gonna go into this, his back here, and just kind of work things around. I'm keeping this kind of light and fun. There's a lot of fun colors here. Let's make this really light yellow, so it's like really bright in front here. And I should never have drawn the white lines for where the lights are going to go, because now I have a black line around where the light is, and that's not a good thing. And I could probably erase it, but I could put white paint in there now, but I just kind of did a thing and I forgot that I should erase that before I actually, you really shouldn't have the black line on the light, because there is no black in the white that you need to show. I could use like pure white like this and go like this, and now this is pure white, this is very thick white, and so I went over my lines. And this is something you can do, but you probably shouldn't. You know, this is not traditionally watercolor, transparent watercolor. But see, the white is going to flick out and it's going to give you these little lines and stuff. So that can be kind of cool too. So that means it's white, and then with a lot of water, and it's going to spread out, like give you a watermark, and then take the white and give you those little fingers. So that's, I mean, I guess it could be kind of a cool thing. It's more of a technique-y thing. I'm not sure if it's going to look like a light, but why not? Let's just try it all. This is for practice purposes, right? I do my Sundays for practicing things, and so, hey, maybe that is a good thing. I'm going to go in there with some more white, or with some more color. This is like an orangey red. See, I want to make it look like it's a watercolor. I want to give it that watercolor look, and anything that watercolor you can do with watercolor that you can't do with another thing, other paint medium, like that floatingness of the pigment floating into the water is very common for watercolors to do. So that, and I'm doing it with white paint though, which is not common, because it's more like a gouache thing. But many people don't do that with white because they either do transparent watercolor or gouache thick. So watch this. I'm going to do a little bit of spatter there. Try to have fun when you're doing your watercolors, especially when you're practicing. You know, if you're not doing a commission and stuff, I know commissions are hard and you're sitting there and you're worrying the whole time. When you're practicing, try to just practice and have fun with it. And try different things. Don't worry about if the painting turns out. Just practice your medium. Try to see what you can do with that medium. Can you make it look great? Can you do things that you didn't think you could do? That's why you're practicing. So here I'm going a little bit thicker with the paint. And like I said, I'm not going to go to black like the photo. I can make it look close to that with a lot of pigment, but I don't have to use black. I can use colorful colors too. Though it probably would look better if I did go with certain really darks so that it would look like the photo, but I am always one that wants to do it like what I want to do, not like the photo. I was just talking to my class yesterday about how tight you can get with things and how tight you want to get. You know, you can get really tight, and I do like some of my painting being really super hyper realistic too. My center of interest, sometimes I like them to be hyper realistic, but I don't like the whole painting to be hyper realistic. I want it to be, a little bit of everything. I tend to want everything in my paintings. So now these drum set, the darks behind them, I'm going to put them so they're moving. Or the symbols. So the symbols I want to kind of have looking like they're moving. And so I'm not going to make a specific line on them. I'm going to make it so that there's like soft edged, and give it a few little like motion lines. Here's a mic that's sitting right there. And I'm not worrying about any details right now. I'm just worrying about the big lights and darks. And when I look at the lights, I squint my eye at the picture, like I'm doing right now. I'm looking at this is going to be the light area. And underneath, around him, is going to be light. With some dark to identify the lights. It's going to be negative painted. Look at how this is separating. The colors are separating on this one right over here. There's a guy over here, and I'm just going to put him in lightly. Just going to put him in right there. Maybe give him a nice dark. Guitarist, looks like there's a guitarist over here. And again, I'm getting all soft edges because that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for soft edges. And now there's a part of the stage here. He looks like he's really short, but he's on the lower part of the stage. So I'm going to put a little line here to kind of identify that he is down below this part, which is a stage above. The drummer is set up a little bit higher on this thing. Let's put this really dark, very dark in here. So I'm using purple, some black. This is going to be Prussian blue. And so what I want to do here is, it looks like it's a box that holds a lot of his drumsticks and everything. Let me just put this in here real quick. It's really dark here. And now I don't want it just to be one color. So while I'm wetting it, and while it's wet already, this is a symbol right here. These are the drum, like these little drumsticks with the balls on top. So there goes the train. And then it looks like this is part of the side of the drum here too. I'm just gonna put that in there real quick. See, I'm working this all wet in the wet. This is all still wet in the wet. This is drying a little bit down here now. And I'm gonna let it dry because I don't need to get soft edges there anymore. And I'm getting this nice hard edges. So that's fine to keep it, you know, where it's starting to get hard edged when I paint there. Now the symbol, the side of this drum, it goes from dark to a light. And over this side is a dark background, and so I'll go and find some background color. And I'll use a lot of pigments so that it doesn't soften up so much. And it looks like it goes to all this things that are holding the drum set in place. And then there's this little arm right here. And this is where the picture comes in handy, and looking at it while you're painting, and so that you can see, like there's a little that holds the symbol up. The little rod here's a little head of the guitar of his. But I'm just lightly identifying these things, not with hard edges either. I'm doing it more with a soft edge. That's a little bit harder because I have to show a little bit of what that's happening. There's a lot of this, and it's going to be kind of abstract-y down here because I don't know exactly what's going on here. So if I just make it look like a bunch of this, you know, work of the metal that's holding the drums up and the cymbals up, as long as it's a few of them being, you know, tight and dark and hard edged, and it'll be fine. So basically now I'm working big areas of dark and medium, but still dark enough that it's part of my dark details too. So step 2 and step 3 are kind of all together on this one. The top of the drum is dark, and then underneath the cymbal is dark. There's a cowbell right there. This is a good exercise for you to do if you're going to try to learn how to work wet into wet. And just wet the whole paper and just keep on working it wet. You know, it's still wet. All this is still wet, so it's all going to give me soft edges. I'm not getting any hard edges because I'm not working in a dry paper. So I'm just going to go in here and just keep on using thick amounts of paint so that I can make it look slightly hard-edged, but it's not going to be totally hard-edged because it is wet. But I'm going to save that all for the dark details. I'll save when it's dry, so then it'll look really hard-edged when it's dry, and that'll be great to do it later when it is dry. So here it's wet, and so you can just put like these little rays of light. I could again put some white in there to make it look. Let's see, his drumstick is right up here, so I'll put white in there later for his drumstick. I haven't spattered in a little bit, and you know how much I like to spatter, so we're just going to put a little spatter in here and there. I just think it gives it motion. And if I feel like later on I've lost some of the light, like the lights and stuff, and look at, I put the white in there, but it bled out, so you're still seeing the black line that I put there. But that's okay. You're going to see it's going to be dark. So now let's go in here, and this is dry now, and so should I re-wet that? Now let's just go in here now and get some of my negative painting going. I keep it with light colors. And there's a lot of these metal poles in there that are holding the drum sets and all that, the legs of the drums. And this is light. This is lighter than the person, so I can go right into his legs. But yeah, I can go right into his legs, and I can make sure it's darker than later. So I'm painting around, doing a lot of, oh, this is his leg right here, and so that will be dark. Negative painting is fun. It takes it's a little bit harder because you have to kind of slow down and look at the picture and see what's light and what's dark. And you're basically doing the background around the object. If you have any questions, please ask. I'm just sitting here painting and talking, so it's a lot of fun for me. But if you want me to answer some questions, I'm not sure what you want answered, so definitely ask me. And ask me questions. I will definitely love to answer them. Now this leg of the chair is light, so negative paint this chair leg. There's a lot of shadows down here with lights, and this is his dark leg, so it can be really shadowed. Maybe this is a little bit darker. Isn't this fun? There's so much happening in here. That's what I love about it. And then what you have to do is just do a couple things, and it's amazing what will come of it when it gets dry, and you just put a couple little negative paintings in there, and it's super fun. Let's use some of this orange and yellow. This is a drum set that's light back here. And this is already starting to dry here, so I'm letting it dry so that I can do him. When I get to him, I'm going to make him, the most contrast, the most colorful, the most everything, because he's the center of interest. I'm going to paint around this drum set a little bit here. I'm going to paint the background a little bit darker. This is a microphone right here. It's good to know your subject matter too. If you don't know your subject matter, you'd be looking at this and go, what the heck is that thing? And then you're just not going to sure how to paint it because you're not quite sure what it is. So kind of know what your subject matter is. Like if you like horses, paint horses, because you'll know all the bridle stuff on the horse and how it handles on the horse, and so know your subject matter and love your subject matter too, because that makes it so much more fun to paint it. Like I love painting musicians. I just like music and I love everything about it, and so to do this is fun. I've always wanted to play. I played a trumpet for a while, a long time ago when I was a kid, but I always wanted to play the piano, but never had time because I was learning how to be an artist. So basically, I know there's a lot of my friends though that were in art school that all knew how to play instruments. It's amazing, guitars and pianos, and I had to pick a stupid trumpet because it's something that's a horn or an air instrument. We had to blow into it, and it's like, oh, why did I pick that? Of all things to pick. So here we're gonna make this drum set look like a drum set. Okay, I think he's dry enough now where I can go into him and pick up some of what he is going to look like. And I'm going to keep some of it, you know, the way it is. Like this over here, I may keep that the way it is. Let's start on the top and just work my way down. So I'm going to give him a red hat. But you won't be able to tell that it's actually red because it's going to be dark. And so I just, that's what my values study says, and I make this dark. And so this has to be darker than any of the light area. And now see I'm working on hard edges because now it's dry. That area dried. Now inside this area that I'm doing hard edged, I can then do wet into wet. So right now it's just basically one color. Well, it's actually two colors because I'm using granulating colors. But then I'm going to go in here, drop some water and pigment in there so that it gives it time to float and kind of separate in here. That kind of goes down to his hair here. And now I'm going to float a little bit of blue in there because it's getting too warm. So we're going to put a little bit of blue on this side. And see, I just floated in there. It's a wet surface, it's a wet area again, but it's in a specific shape, the shape of a hat. And it goes down to his hair. And actually he's got glasses on, so I'm just going to put this little thing right there behind his ear. That's his collar. And it looks like he has a beard, so I'm just going to bring this down. And remember, drawing is number one when it comes to figures. You got to draw it right. This one maybe not as much because you can, like if it's a movement, you could blur in areas, so it doesn't have to be perfect when it comes to, you know, that you got it perfectly drawn. Because if it's in movement, if you're trying to show movement, then movement will be like this. What's the word I'm thinking of? It's not exactly right. You know, you can diffuse it. Distort. That's the word I was looking for. Distort. You can distort the image because it's moving. So distort it. And it should be done softly though, with a soft edge, because distorting it with a hard edge doesn't look like it's moving. Now this is all dry, but as I go along, I put water on it again, and so it becomes wet again, and then I can float other pigment into that area. Even though it was dry, I got my hard edge, but then in here I want it to be wet, because I still want that to be soft. And it looks like there's a little light right there, and it goes to a dark. And I'm using these gradient colors, granulating, not gradient, granulating colors. There's a little light coming through here. And look at all the colors I have in there. Let's make this one a little bit warmer over here. Now I just put some lavender, which has white in it, so that's going to make it more pastel-y and give it a different kind of wet into wet look. See, I just picked this little white too. Somehow I must have got into white here. Some green. Look, I'm just dumping in everything now. It's kind of really dark right there. And then it kind of goes over his leg, his coat. And if I want to get it really dark, I'll take some of these really darks up here, and I will, like right in where his arm goes into the back of his coat here. I'm gonna make that really dark. really soft edge and blurry. That's okay to be blurry, but I am going to put it really dark right there. And to do that, I've got to pick up a lot of pigment so that it gets really, really dark right there. And doesn't bleed all over the place. You know, see how I just bled it there? But it's really dark, lots of pigment. And then I can put some of the folds in by using a really dark too. Black, Prussian blue, purple, brown. So where else can I do that? I can do that maybe underneath here. And do down his leg maybe. This is the chair, the little stool he's sitting on. And I don't have, like I said, I don't have to be perfect with the drawing right now because I do want him to have a little bit of movement. And so if you distort it a little bit, that's a good thing. You want to distort it so that it has that little bit of feel like you're not seeing him in still. He's not still, he's moving. And it's definitely a more of a advanced technique, but you know, why not teach how to do that too? It's like it's okay to learn everything and try. I mean, I now can try those things and practice those things because I want that I want that look. I'm not just copying a photo. I'm trying to show a movement in this guy. And when I do all my musicians, I kind of like that when it looks like he's moving a little bit. And that's set still and set in the stone. And the nice thing is too, I can always get darker with this if I feel like this is all a little bit too light or just too colorful. You can always go back in, re-wet it, and just put not so much color in it, and just make it dark. Let's go down his leg here now. His leg kind of combines with this case that he has here. So let me see how that is. And then the stool is kind of dark too. And then what is all this? This is the main stool has the main leg coming down here. Blending this together a little bit. Some shadowing in there. And yes, my Saturday or my Sunday morning is more advanced, but it's not a paint along. But if you can just remember some of this stuff when you do some paintings, that's what I'm doing it for, just to show you, you know, maybe some of this will help you when you actually get to a better, more advanced stage. See, negative painting, get all this little working. I can actually also put white in there later to give it another dimension. That's kind of I like using kind of opaques because now I can put this dark in there, but I can get even one more light in there, do a little more like an oil painter, and get my light back in there, which I really like to do. I really like to do that now because I like to have both. And again, I like everything, and so I try to put everything in my paintings. The gouache look, the oil painting look. Next thing you know, I'll be putting a pastel look in there. This is some kind of case here, and so I'm just gonna see how I'm doing hard edges now. I am doing a bunch of hard edges because I want to show what things are. Like this is just dark, basically. And his arm is really screwy here, so I'm just gonna put a little bit darker there. Bring it up. And then this is the drum set again. Let's make that a little bit darker, a little bit more. Detail, that's what I'm doing now. Detail, little detail parts. Let's see. Looks like they have these little tops on these symbols. Here we have a mic. And I know there's some darks around it that are darker than what I have here, but let me just, I'm going to get these details and maybe put some of that in there too. Oh, all your questions went away. Where are they? Allison, with so much detail with equipment, how do you sort through what is to paint and what to leave out? That is pretty much the best question ever because when I'm doing this and when I see a lot of stuff like this where it's so much detail in it, it could be a city, it could be, with what do you leave out? Basically, you look for the center of interest and then you put whatever you feel like this now is lighter area, so I'm going to put some dark in there. And I have my drawing there, so I look up there and I go, okay, those are just little parts, and this is important, this area, because of my center of interest. So I'll get some of the detail, but it's not perfectly like the photo. It's not. I'm not going in there and getting exactly, hyper realistically, making it look like the photo. I just want that area to look like it's an impression of all these things on the seat. It has little wheels, and so I'll just put that in there when I feel that it needs it right there. So I'm not exactly sure what all of the stuff I'm going to put in there, but just so I get my lights and darks working. Like I know that this has to be dark and my lights, this has to be dark against my light. And my background right here is my light area. And so these symbols are my light area. So I may have to get dark over here. And so if there's something in a way like this little rod here, I see that the symbol has this rod coming all the way down. And so I'll put that in there. Just big things of the detail. And if I see like there's pencil lines there and I'm looking and I didn't cover it, then I usually just try to cover that area up so I get rid of the pencil lines. Like this guy too here, he's dark in the shadows, so let me put him in now. And actually, I'll put him in like this, and then there's a rod next to him, and they see I penciled in. So pretty much it's whatever I see with my pencil lines. And some of the stuff I don't see, or I covered over with another color, and so that I don't put in. So it's pretty much whatever I see. And I don't want it to look like the photo, so I'm not going to try to go in and get every little thing. If you're doing hyperrealism, you have to put everything in there exactly what it is. And so that is why it takes them like sometimes months and months and months to do their paintings, because they'll go in there and draw it up completely exactly like the photo. And so then you have to put everything in. I'm just putting in things that give the impression that like all these legs and all these little rods in here and the leg of the chair. So I just make it look like that some of the stuff is in there. And I do the main things too, like this leg, he's very important, so I make sure they get all of him in there, and I make it hard edge and also very dark. It's funny because that question comes up a lot, like what do you put in, and it's like I can't tell you exactly what I put in and what I don't put in, but I can just tell you that I do an interpretation of what is there a lot of times, because I can't do if you're doing it this loose and this fast, you can't put everything in. You cannot put everything in, and actually that's the part that you learn little by little. The more you do, what you should put in, what you leave out. Basically, I just saw, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot his name, artist, Andy Evenson. So I just looked at some of his work. He just showed some of his work, and when you want to see about how to simplify, you got to look at his paintings. It's amazing how he simplifies whole scenes and keeps things really, really to the nitty gritty. You don't need much to show what something is, and he's an expert at it. He's a super expert at doing these big things with a lot of stuff in it, but bringing it down to very simplified values of light and dark. It's cool. It's so amazing, his work. And if you have him on Facebook, he just posted a bunch of paintings of his, and take a look at that on Facebook. Andy Evenson, amazing painter. Here's that symbol. How much time do I have? 40 minutes. That's fine. So I got plenty of time. Yeah, if you got him on Facebook, look at it, what he just posted. It's very amazing. Or become his friend on Facebook. Alright, so do I have him dark enough? I might have to darken my background a little bit so that he pops out a little bit more. And actually, this is a little bit too much complicated there, so I'm going to take a wash over everything. I'm just going to take a big wash of dark over some of this. And you can do that. You can just take a dark wash and wet it, and then just put it right over everything. I just feel that's a little bit too much going on in there. I want it a little bit more silhouetted. Keep it simple. Keeping it more simple. Not with all the lines and everything. We don't really need that. It's not in the photo, so I mean, if I see it's not in the photo, I know you think sometimes it's like, well, why did you do it in the first place? Well, you know, you go through and you're doing layers, and that's my middle layer, and sometimes you're almost like practicing with it and seeing how close you can get to the picture, and sometimes you want to try things less than the picture, or like not exactly like the picture. But you know me and about how important the value sketch is, and how that's like the second most important thing is the composition and the value pattern. And so if the value pattern says that this is dark, then make it dark. And here I'm putting it really dark in here now. It's just so that he pops, and the background lights will be really light then too. And at the same time, negative painting around some of this stuff. So that's a lot of pigment I just put down there, but it's also a lot of water. So I can go like this, go around his shape. I'm giving that little rim lighting too at the same time. And then watch what I do here. I'm going to drop some water in here in a second. Let me just get this going here. And it'll blend itself together. I'll give me a nice lighting effect in there. Go around his head a little bit, and now I don't want it to be perfectly on him because I want him to have a look of movement. So let's kind of add this together with the background in some spots. See, if I let it come together as one big wash, then it'll really give the look of movement. How about if I spray it in there? No, so what I want to do is wet my brush and put water in here. I'm just going to put water inside this little area and just let it bleed to the center. And the more water, the more it's going to bleed towards the center, right? Look at this. I'm just going to put water in here and let it bleed, let all that pigment bleed to center. But this is a little bit too much right there, so I'm going to let that go there a little bit. And if I want to come out here a little bit and just kind of do this, I can do that. Like take away some of this paint a little bit. Again, I could drop white paint in there too. I'm going to do that. I'm going to drop a little bit of white paint in the middle of that. And I put it pretty thick. Covering up my pencil lines. I'm going to spatter here too. Get the light in there. Let's do one over here. Put some water in there. Well, it's already so wet. Look at this, just going to spread out. Look at these little bursts. Isn't that cool? Oh no, it's not that cool. That one's not that cool. So then it also has a little bit of, do the edge of his face a little bit so you can see a little bit more of what his face looks like and his beard. Take it around here. Take it around the edge of this light. So in some ways, yes, you do try to copy a lot what you see in the photo, and sometimes you kind of make up things because it's not exactly the best way to paint it. If you're a painter and you can't do it in paint, then you got to figure a way of making that same look to look different from the photograph, but still give you the same effect that you want. Like a hard edge, maybe it makes it come forward or push it back. That's all, I guess, really advanced stuff, but little by little, you're going to have to know all that advanced stuff too. Look at that. Isn't that cool? The little burst of light in there. And like I'll put in a little bit of light there with white paint later on for the rim lighting. And now let's get this on the other side too. I kind of like that. I mean, I don't mind the dark being really dark like that. It makes your lights look lighter, right? So I go in there with the paint, pretty thick. This is dry, so I'm getting the dry edge. But then I'm going to put stuff in there. Here's the little microphone. Yeah, trying to put too much in. You don't want to put all the detail in unless, like I said, if you're going to make it really tight, then you're fine. You can put it all in there, and if you're hyper realist, you got to put it all in. But if you're doing it more like what I'm doing right here, where you're doing it more impressionistic, then you can't put everything in. It just doesn't look right. Look like I said, look what Andy Evenson does. His paintings are amazing. They look so detailed, but they're so not detailed. It's incredible what he does and how he does it. But some people maybe want more than that, though. Some people don't like to have it where it's that kind of simplified. They like every little detail. There are people who like the hyper-realist painting where every little detail, every little ant in this picture would be shown. There are some people who love that, and so it's all good. You do what you do. You do you. See, now I'm putting in my dark details. I'm putting in my details and my darkest darks. I'm putting the orange around here, and then I'll wet it. And again, I'll put water in the middle here, and then I'll just let it bleed. Get the soft edge. Water gives you the soft edges. Now sometimes people say, well, then you wrecked this what you had in the first wash. Well, yeah, you do, but that's okay. So you're just trying to make it better than what it was. Just put some really dark around these symbols, but not so perfectly. I've got this turquoise in there, which I don't have anywhere else, really, and so I got to put that somewhere else. So when I use turquoise one place, you got to use it somewhere else. How much time do I have? Okay, that's bad. We'll get done. Put some darks in here. And now I can do these fake things with, like I said, where you're faking it, you're not quite sure. You just put a lot of these little things in there. I'm letting it look like it's moving, so that's cool. Give his arm a little bit darkness to it also, just a little bit darker. I'm going to put this drumstick in later. I'm going to drop some white into this area. That was a dirty brush. Don't do that with a dirty brush because it doesn't give you pure white. Alright, let's see. Get some really darks in there for the final. And when something is wet, it's not going to look really dark as dark. It's when it's dry that you can finally see exactly the darks. when the darks are wet, they pick up the light from in the room, and so you can't quite tell exactly how dark they are. So it's good to just wait until it dries. Sometimes you have to wait for it to dry to see the exact darkness that you're going to want to get. This is going to be, I'm going to put some lines in here for the drumstick going. So the next Thursday, I'm going to try to do a paint along, but I never know in Dillman's if I can get good Wi-Fi. So just be patient. If you don't see it going on, that means I didn't get it. Wait like 5 minutes, and if it doesn't work, I will probably try to say that it's not working. But if it's not giving me anything where I can get in there, then I'm just gonna have to shut it down. Shadow going back. Here I'm just getting super dark details now. I only got 4 minutes left, so let's just put that all in there really quickly. Is there shadows? There's a lot of shadows over here too. So let's just put a nice purple shadow in there. Blue, just give it a nice shadow in here. Now I haven't put the white in like I said I was going to do, but let me just show you in a second. So this is still pretty much well, it's not a total transparent watercolor, but it's close. And then when it comes to putting the opaques in there, if you want to put the opaques in, then you go with pure pigment where you don't see through it. But I'm still working more, I'm working more of this with a transparent look right now. Band around his hat. Alright, so here's going with the white, and I'm just going to take and put it where I feel, like right around his hat here. I'm putting just white in there because I want to get the look of, the light, shiny light on there. Rim lighting. And there's a couple parts that I'm going to kind of get it more in some places than others. And this is pure white. This is really thick white. And here it's still wet, so I'm going to get a nice look of soft edge. And here's this drumstick that's moving. Here I'm going to throw a couple of lines on the cymbals. A lot of sparkle in this stuff down here, right? And so that's where you can get a lot of this. There's a lot of sparkle in metal, so that's where I can take all this white. And this you could do also with masking fluid in the beginning, or scratch out with a X-Acto knife type of thing. There's little dots of brightness, and I'm putting it on thick. I'm just gonna especially around him, because I want that part to look like it's really shiny around the center of interest here. And also it makes it look like there's a lot of stuff. If I just do a lot of lines and dots and stuff, it'll just look like, oh, look at all that stuff happening down there. And it doesn't have to be exactly right. You know, again, it's a little interpretation of what I want people to think is there. And this should be a little bit darker, but that's okay. I'll put this little. Can I mix watercolor and gouache to make a color? Absolutely, you can. Yeah, definitely. Because they're both the same thing. They're both watercolor. So it doesn't matter if you mix, the gouache with the watercolor. If you're using it wet in the wet, that's okay. You know, use it. If you use it thick, though, the watercolor, you have to make sure that you don't go too thick, because you don't want your watercolor too thick. You know, that's where you want to keep it the gouache. But when you're mixing them then into the gouache, then you're going to get some of the pigment from the gouache in there. So then it's okay to make it a little bit thicker right then. Oh, getting a cramp in my leg. Okay, one more thing. I'm going to make him a little bit darker on the side, and then that'll be it, right? Oh, I'm already past. Let me just do this right here. Remember that dark I put in here, and it got light again, so put that dark back in there. One more dark, and we're done. It's dark right here. Just want to make that sure that's nice and dark. All right, there you go, guys. There you have it. My Sunday morning demonstration for you. And now I'm going to be heading up to Dillman's, which is 5 hours away. So I'll be on the road. Hopefully it will not rain and pour like I saw it was doing before. So any other questions if you have of this, put them in the description, and I'll try to answer them. And so hopefully this taught you a little bit something. I always never know what I'm going to be doing on a Sunday morning. I'm always practicing things for myself. And let me just do one more thing. I'm going to show you how to put this little light. Let me put one little dot here of white. And then put some water in there and just let it spread out. So you put a little drop of water in there, and it's just going to spread out. All right, thanks guys. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks for stopping by. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And actually tell your friends too. This is for everybody and anybody. All right, we'll see you later. Hopefully I'll see you on Thursday if I get Wi-Fi in Dillman's. All right, we'll see you.